Welcome everyone to episode 3 of the Nexus, where we talk about anything and everything related to League of Legends. I'm Lisa Dwan, and here in the studio with me is Gabe.
Hello, Lisa.
And the man behind the machine over there is Brian.
What's up, what's up?
So today we're talking about everything IEM Katowice, from the results to all the technical difficulties it ran into. Later on, we'll discuss the controversial statement UOL's manager made in week 5 of the EU LCS about Korean imports. And finally, in breaking news, Team Liquid just announced that Piglet will be moved to mid lane, and they also announced their AD carry, so we'll touch on that near the end. However, it's not just gonna be us three.
Nope.
We're joined by a very special guest, former player, turned analyst, turned reporter. He pretty much does a little bit of everything. Marcel Dexter Feldkamp joins us after returning from IEM Katowice. Hey Marcel.
Hey, what's up?
Good. How's it going with you?
Bit tired.
Yeah? How come?
Yeah, Poland, you know what's happening, the whole drill. Yeah, it's always exhausting to work in an event and then come back. But yeah, I'm just relaxing right now.
So you just came back from IEM Katowice. What were you doing there?
Actually, I was just hanging out. I wasn't like, I think it was like legit my first event where I didn't do any work, I just kicked back,
That's
watched
great.
some games, hung out with like a couple of new friends I made in the industry, just getting to know people, a bit of networking. But yeah, that's it. I didn't really work in any way, so it was really nice for like once.
It's always nice as someone who originally went in with like a job or like a competitive spirit to just go and
Chill?
watch the event. Yeah, just go chill.
Yep.
Just go see good League of Legends.
No. Was it weird going to an event and not working for us?
I mean, last time at Katowice, I was supposed to work for you guys, and then I came anyway, and then you forced me to do a video with you, Lisa.
Forced
Ooh.
you?
You
Forced you?
yeah.
I was
And
not
then you
part
made
of
fun
this.
of me in that video. So
For the record, everybody, Dexter was all like, "Oh, I want to do a video with you, Lisa. Let's do a video." Don't lie to the people, Marcel. We should link it. We'll link it for you guys in the comments below. A little flashback. Good times. But so
you should also mention that it took you like 15 takes to start the video.
Oh,
Don't forget that.
goodness.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm perfect.
Was she flustered? Was she flustered in the presence of greatness?
Are you talking about Dexter?
Of course. Well,
No. Dexter, first of all, on camera is so different than what he is in real life. I'm gonna just say that, okay? Completely, he turns it on when the camera's on.
Now you seem to be level-headed about this, instead of being flustered in the past.
No.
Are you used to it?
I think I've definitely gotten used to it, and with Marcel too, we worked a lot like together and we talked, so like we're totally comfortable now. Too bad before it was super awkward, All right, okay, back to serious business. So IEM Katowice just wrapped up. Spoiler alert, everyone, I'm about to spoil the results. If you didn't watch it, turn away now. The Flash Wolves took home the trophy. Yay!
Woo!
Is anybody really surprised though?
I mean, if we go back to our last episode, neither of us predicted the Flash Wolves would win. And
Yeah, but I said like M19, so I don't know if I count.
for me, it was an interesting watch because of their bottom lane in particular. I didn't know how good their new AD carry would be. But now I'm in love with their bottom lane. I've dubbed them Betty and Veronica.
Oh my god.
After the Archie comics. I think that this team is so solid now, way more than they used to be.
Oh wow.
And they'll probably be international killers in the future if they continue improving.
Wow. Marcel, any thoughts on that?
they already have been killing it internationally, right?
Yeah,
so
even more so. I
mean, Flash Wolf is the only team that is a not Korean team that actually has a chance to beat the Koreans, and they've always beat like the good teams, right? So,
yeah.
for me, yeah, the new bot lane is pretty good. They're their purest bot lanes and especially like AD carries was always a problem. And with Maple and Casa, you always had like a really good core of people, right? Like they were like incredibly talented, and especially this tournament, I just felt that Casa, like their jungler, he's like really good, but I expected way more from him. Like in my eyes, he underperformed a bit against the people that he went up to against.
Yeah,
but they still managed to come out ahead, right? So I think if they get their shit together and like practice properly and going into Worlds, I mean, I don't think there's no way that they shouldn't qualify for Worlds, but I'm like more than happy to see what they will do on like the next international events with a bit more of practice with their roster.
Fully agreed. He had like some sketchy Graves play a bit.
He was inting.
Yeah, pretty hard, and he like didn't understand how the auto attacks worked. He just like hit towers instead of champions because it hits the first thing in front. But I'm really excited to see where this team goes. I'm also really excited to see where the LMS region goes, because this also this international victory comes with a international victory before of getting 3 world spots. You know, so I want to see if Taiwan, if the LMS is this top-heavy region of just the Flash Wolves, or if the number 2 and number 3 seed going into international competition can actually do very well. So I'm really excited to see if this is a precursor for the LMS's international success moving forward.
Wait, so hold on. Are we saying like LMS, based off their performance here, they're looking stronger than, I don't know, like LPL? Like what?
They're looking stronger than EU.
Oh, Marcel, what do you think about that?
No, so that the whole thing with LMS was always that I think the 2 spots were like perfect for that region in the past, because the discrepancy between the 2 top teams and the rest of the teams was so big that even the 3rd team, it would have been like basically like a wildcard team, you know. So I think it will be interesting how like the third team of the LMS will develop and how good they are in comparison to the rest. But in general, yeah, I mean, Flash Wolves has always been like a super strong presence in the international scene, and Maple has been for like multiple years, for like 3-4 years already, been regarded as one of the best mid laners in the world, you know. And it's gonna be interesting to see how the LMS region is gonna shape up. I mean, they practice against like the Korean teams and all of that stuff, you know. But yeah, the bottom teams besides like Flash Wolves are definitely like not as strong, I think, and it needs to be like we just have to see and observe how it develops in my eyes.
If you recall, Maple was our number 10 player of 2016, so like in League of Legends.
Actually, I'm curious, is there a reason why these players, like Maple has gotten like international recognition, Karsa also, like why have they not left the region? Was there a reason why they decided to stay in
Not that I know of.
No one understands, no. I'm pretty
right?
They've received multiple offers from all teams, man. It's like everyone that I talk to, they're like a couple of LMS experts, like Clement Shu, for example.
Yeah.
They always, they have like received like ridiculous offers, you know, from like teams. But I don't know why. Maybe next year. I mean, I think I even like interviewed one of them. I can't really remember which one I did, but I was like, it's like even the possibility of you leaving like the region for like another region. I think it was even like Casa, if I remember correctly. I did that interview, guys. Like I did the interviews for you guys. I think it was like a serious possibility of like 2018 that he might.
Wow,
that's thinking ahead. That's
2018,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but I think the players are thinking, because obviously like money is a big thing, and I can imagine that North America has like a lot more money for these players, and they could be making like a serious living, you know. It just depends on how their contract is like structured right now, and how long they have to stay there, and even if they want to move. These are like all factors that I have no idea about, but yeah.
Didn't the Flash Wolves wanted to disband after last year, and then they decided to stay together? There was I think article or rumor about that.
Yeah,
they said they were gonna disband after Worlds,
okay,
but then they decided to stay together afterwards. You guys didn't hear about that?
No.
I swear I'm not making that up, guys. Go look it up.
Make it up, man. You remember the last time like someone made like up something that the Rocks Tigers are disbanding?
Wow!
And it was turned back on them, like on Jacob Wood. That was why he decided.
I'm not gonna name my sources, but I heard that somewhere.
I heard the Flash Wolves thing funny somewhere. Idea. They had this prank. They were like, "Wouldn't it be funny if we actually did it?" And then
we don't speak that name. No.
Yeah.
Okay. So back to IEM Katowice. Ooh, were you guys surprised that there was no. This is probably one of the first international terms that there's no Korean at the end of it. No Korean team, guys.
I'm not.
The gap
I'm not
is closing.
Surprised. I'm not
No?
surprised. It was like the 2 of the 3 worst Korean teams attending.
No, you know what pisses me off? At the beginning of this tournament, all the casters are always like, yeah, you know, Kongdu is the worst team in LCK, but they're still an LCK team. And now the whole like narrative has switched over to, yeah, but they're the worst LCK team, so
But
you
it
can't
was
expect
so
much. Like, what the
the
hell?
former statement was so unreasonable to make, you know?
Marcel's shaking his head. Why?
I don't know, man. It just the caster narrative is like really weird this year. I think in like multiple regions where, especially like for Europe, right? People make G2 out to be like super strong in some aspects of the team, but I don't just see it. You know, I mean, narrative is always something that you need to tell like a story, right? And that needs to be continuously. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of this year's storylining, basically, from some casters or
You're not a fan
some
of the script?
choice that the casters make. What?
You're not a fan of the script?
I don't know if it's a script. It's more like you talk to teams. You know, when I was working when I was playing for Elements, we had like this huge story shift where we would just be like super pissed at Riot for like telling like a story that we're like fucking shit at the early game and draft all this shit. And then we actually did it right and won some games, and they were still keeping going on. It's like, man, you guys are just so bad at early game, you know. And then when you ask all the teams, it's like we've been. I mean, I hate talking about this, but we've been actually like crushing scrims at that time, and we were like a really good and solid early game team, you know. But the narrative was keep going on. It's like, man, this team is like super shit at early game. They're full late game, you know. Even though it was only week 1, and they still talked about it in like week 5. So yeah, I mean that stories change, right? But it's a really good way for like newer viewers or people that are not super deep into like the whole thing to just keep telling a story that people can relate to. So. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of some stories, but that's just opinion, you know.
I just found it so unreasonable for people to say that, you know, G2 has conquered their international demons by taking down the 2nd worst team in Korea. It just is unfair to lower the bar for a team that really should be accomplishing so much more as the best team in Europe, right? We shouldn't be excited that G2 has beat the Rocks Tigers. We should be excited that G2, you know, could have beat the best team in the LMS, or G2 had their chances against like bigger Korean teams and on a bigger international stage, and they failed to capitalize on that. I just think that at the point where we lower the bar so much to say that G2 beat the 2nd worst team in the LCK, I just think, or like the 3rd worst team in the LCK, I just think it's really unfortunate that we throw them so many bones. I expect a lot more out of G2 coming into MSI if they make it there, and Worlds if they make it there, because they're showing against Rocks Tigers, even though they beat them, it wasn't even that good. They didn't even play that well. So it's really unfortunate to see that we're giving them so much wiggle room and they still are struggling and they still are suffering. And remember, this is also a team that has stuck together for an entire season. You know, that they shouldn't be struggling in this way against newly formed Korean teams, if anything.
It's probably a mix of lowering the bar a lot for the EU teams, but also the high bar that we set for Korean teams.
I guess
right?
so.
It's a mix of that. But actually, I just want to ask Marcel, you bring up a really interesting point talking about elements. So like casters always have, you know, the narratives that they push every season. Do teams actually pay attention to the narratives, and how does that actually affect you guys?
I mean, of course, like teams, I mean, there are like multiple team owners and team managers that are like sometimes pissed if some things get wrong. I mean, you know this, right? Someone makes a tweet about LOL, these casters. I mean, it happens all the time but it's a lot more about giving internal feedback. Like, for example, when I was playing still, I was talking a lot to Crepo, you know, it's like, so, you know, I was like listening to his cast, and it was at this time where I gave him like some feedback about it, because he was like still fairly new and wanted to absorb as much as possible. Yeah. But it's definitely something that a lot of teams are doing, that they talk to like casters like internally to help them out with like a storyline, right? Because at the end of the day, you're there for like to make a show, to have like an entertainment factor, and it's better if you just get the right story out and with like more context, you know, what's going on. So that's definitely happening, I think. Yeah, it's still happening.
So just touching on what Gabe was talking about with G2, so based off this tournament and G2's performance, how do you guys feel about Europe? Like G2 is the top team from Europe. So how are you guys feeling with Europe's competitiveness and their, how they stack up amongst other regions?
I'm not impressed.
No?
I mean, like I kind of went through this already.
Yeah.
One thing that I forgot to mention too was Rox wasn't even playing with their starting top laner. Shy couldn't attend the tournament,
right,
or wasn't attending the tournament. So they have a lot to work on, and all the stuff I said before, just coupled with that, I just think it wasn't an impressive showing. They only looked good, or they looked their best when they faced another European team. That's interesting enough as it is.
So Marcel, how about you?
Yeah, so first of all, I think we can't really call this tournament like an internationally championship because we didn't have like a North American team, a top team. We didn't have like a top Korean team.
Yep.
We didn't have a top Chinese team.
Yep.
So it was more like, I felt like it was like more like an invitational with the people that wanted to attend. And no North American team wanted to attend because of jet lag. You come to the tournament, you play, like you have a jet lag, you have to play, you move back, you have to adjust for 5 days for like the jet lag again. And so many people that are so afraid of that if you have like the following week that you have to play LCS, if you lose those games because you couldn't practice properly because of some like very tiny things that put you out of your comfort zone, it didn't make any team wanting to attend the event, And so in terms of Europe's performance, I mean, Europe had to go into this tournament expecting to win. That was just my thing. It's like, if Europe doesn't win here, like we have the best teams, right? We sent the best teams from Europe. We had UL and G2. I think both teams could have won the tournament, or should have won the tournament, one of the two. And then you have H2K, a team that is still relatively new, but is showing sign of improvement. But yeah, in general, I thought Europe has to win this tournament in order to just giving the fact that so many bad, I don't want to call teams bad, but there were like some bad teams in comparison to others available. I mean, they had to win the whole thing, and then teams would have been satisfied, fans would have been satisfied, but Europe's performance was like pretty bad, and I think that the drafts as well, they were like really weird, and the prioritization on some champions in this tournament, especially like from Europe, it seemed to me like, I don't know, man. It's just so weird.
So what does this mean for the EU LCS?
I think it's a wake-up call.
Wake-up call.
Yeah, easily. They saw how much they struggled, or should have seen how much they struggled, and I think it's a call for better adjustment from the staff, especially of the top teams, but also for players to kind of get it together and be able to communicate more effectively. I don't know. I'm not privy to how those teams operate, but they should be kicking it into a higher gear at the very least.
Yeah, I think in terms of Europe, when we talk about Europe, the one team I really like and I really enjoy watching is just Misfits. I mean, G2 is good. They're solid all around, but if I just have like a small breakdown of all European teams, right? G2, they have like obvious problems in their like early game, I feel. They would often not push their leads properly or fuck up early game really hard. Even though the narrative is, they're a good early game team and they go for late game and shit. It's not true. Early game, G2 it's not good, It's not good because when they generate leads, they usually never push it, and that's the problem. And then with Unicorns of Love,
why is that?
You saw that in the finals. In Kelsey's piece that came out today was a good descriptor of as well. Even like the coaching criticism aside, the actual analytical breakdowns of how they didn't push their leads in the early game was very good and very in depth. So
why is it that they're not pushing their leads? Just gonna throw that question out there.
It probably has something to do with how they practice. I mean, they're practicing this very safe style, as you can see. I was like a big fan of how they, like in the early weeks, I was like a very big fan of how they recover from the game, and they were putting a lot more, like they're developed into like a really good defensive team, right? So they could play from behind, which is a good sign, but in reality it just punished their strength, where they were really good at like early game, mid game decision making. It just felt like that there's not much left of it right now, and I think if you wanna like go really into depth, you should probably read Kelsey's article about that, because I feel it really described the whole problem with G2 right now. And then you obviously have like Unicorns of Love, a team that has developed a really good macro style right now and is really strong in terms of like macro, but they're often they can't cut their losses, If they come across in something where they need to back off or react to something poorly, they would still commit with all in, and even if they die, that would set them back like really hard. But I think they never got like punished in Europe for like these mistakes hard enough. So I'm a bit afraid that they will not develop this if the region doesn't get stronger. And then H2K, dude, H2K is like the worst team at team fighting I've seen over years. They're honestly like really bad at team fighting. I mean, their early game is they have to win the early game and get like a super good early game lead and then transition that. But if they can't get that lead and they play against a team that is really good at playing like defensive and wait for their mistake to happen, I just feel that H2K is gonna have like it's gonna face the same problems again at all international competition that with I don't know why that is. Like Odoamne had like a pretty bad tournament, I would say, even though I regard him very highly as one of the best European top laners. But it just that team fighting is just non-existent. It's like super bad, and then they have this weird H2K late game where they just don't do anything, and it's a meme almost, you know, when people just making fun of their late game because over like this time they couldn't develop like a proper late game. But maybe it gets better. I mean, the Koreans are pretty decent from what I've seen. I think Nuclear is a pretty good AD carry. He's been beating it on some champions. And yeah, just that was like the small rundown for like all the European teams, the top 3 basically. But I think Misfits.
Sorry, Splice.
maybe we talk about you next week or something. But yeah. I think Misfits is like proper solid. You know, I think their coaching staff is incredibly smart. They have like a really good supporting coaching staff, and when I look at their macro game, it's clean. It's really clean. I love their games. You know, they play like perfect games almost.
Almost. We talked about that last week.
Yeah, I really like. I think from like all the teams in Europe, not Splice, man. Why do I?
You just want to talk about Splice.
You just want them to be good. I understand.
Are they sponsoring you? Are they paying you to say their name repetitively throughout this?
Yeah, I admit, Marty's paying me.
Marcel out! The return of Marcel out!
Marcel out.
That was the nickname we gave him. You guys call him that, by the way.
But yeah, Misfits is like the solid team. I think they will develop like over summer if they stick together into like a top 3 team for sure. And I really want to see them at an international competition.
You know, we were talking to Power of Evil last week from Misfits, and he said they wanted an invitation to IEM, but unfortunately they didn't get it.
They never got one, yeah.
So how do you guys think they would have done if they went to this tournament?
I think they would have done fine, I think. I mean, I wouldn't expect them to win, but I don't think they would have made any mistakes as big in the draft, especially as the other European teams. So what I really like about, they have like really insane preparation, and they do like really good scouting, you know. They know what the strengths are of the enemy teams, and they draft properly. And I think their priority on champions is like really good right now. So that's why I kind of like expected them to do. I mean, they could have went to the final probably in that tournament too. Yeah,
I would say their upper limit, their ceiling would have been the final. I think they still would have probably lost to Flash Wolves. Your preparation point is pretty interesting too, because that kind of differs when we're talking about these international tournaments, these multi-day kind of invitationals, because in LCS you have like a whole week to prepare 1 and occasionally 2 series, right? But in these kinds of tournaments, you kind of put the staff to their limits by asking them to prepare basically a series a day, right? Even more so when we're talking about how the semis and finals played out on one day, right? So it would be interesting to see if that preparation stays consistent and stays perfect or stays incredible while being put under this time crunch. So I would have liked to see that.
It definitely puts the coaches and this coaching stuff to test, because so the way the tournament works was you play the semifinals, and then at the same day you still play the finals. That means you don't have like a lot of time to prepare for the draft for the finals. So that would really mean that you guys or your coaching staff need to be good at adapting, right? And I think a coaching staff should all be about adapting, and especially once you head into playoffs in the best of 5, you don't get that time to just restructure the strategy. It's just, okay, we have prepared this, and this, and then deciding on what you go with. And if there's like usually what happens in a series like this between like international teams, what happens is one champion that wasn't really super contested becomes really contested out of the sudden. And you can see by the way the coaching staff or the coach reacts to like how they implement like a ban or put priority champion on like put the priority on different champions. You can really see how good the coaching staff is, and I think that's what Korea is obviously the best at, because they have like good coaches that can do that adaptation in between sets and in between games.
Shout out to Coma.
Yeah, basically.
And of course, Misfits coach,
Hussein.
Daku.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Like,
Props to
cool
you.
guys, man.
Yeah, he's great.
He's from Toronto, by the way. I guess a lot of cool people are from Toronto.
Well, he from what I recall, he's from Saga, not necessarily.
Oh, Saga. All right, now we got to rethink that friendship.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Okay, so IEM Katowice was not without any technical difficulties. I think that's the nicest way I can put it.
No, it did have some.
Let's count how many. What kind of issues did they run into? Let's see. Numerous pauses.
For many reasons.
For many different reasons.
Yep.
There were many delays. What else we got?
Pauses, delays, so many broadcast
I'm actually
fails.
cutting together an IEM fails video. You guys can look forward to that.
Yikes.
The broadcast fails are hilarious. Like you see the cameras swinging, cameras looking at the spectator client, looking at random things when other things are happening across the map.
My favorite was like in the middle of the game, they would just have a like semi-transparent Yankos just pop up into the
He's
screen.
out of this world.
Yeah.
He reached a new level. So and like I think the tournament, like you said, one day ended at 1 a.m.
It ended the final day ended at
Marcel,
like 1
were you there? Did you stay there the whole day?
Oh, fuck that. I was like, so what happened that day was I was staying in my hotel room because I didn't want to go to the venue that earlier because I was staying with like a good friend of mine, and we were just talking. I was like, man, I wonder what is happening right now in the tournament, And then when we arrived at the venue, it's like, oh, the set hasn't even finished the first one. He was like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh my god.
I was like, oh my god, this is like a disaster. And then I was like seeing all the tweets in my timeline. It's like everyone is like so mad and upset. It's like,
Ocelot.
Do you feel people have a right? Like, is it wrong to expect a tournament with no, delays, the game not breaking? Is it wrong, or
I mean, people want to see no technical difficulties, right? But you even get that in the most controlled environments. LCS has had their fair share of technical difficulties or delays because of game bugs or whatever, right? But I think it's totally reasonable to expect shorter delays than what were had, because these problems seemed very simple from the details that emerged about them,
what were
right?
they? Just so everyone knows.
So G2 had complained a lot about lag on their computers. I don't want to get too much into it, but they decided we're going to play it out for the sake of the fans, which I found very, very interesting, because if you're a team trying to win an international competition, why would you suddenly bow to pressure to like play it out and play with this leg, right? Yeah. I think that's pretty irresponsible.
Marcel,
just
do
all
you have
things
any
considered.
Insight on that? Why would a team do that?
Let me think.
I mean, being on stage,
if they're like tired or something.
I was gonna say, like, they're tired. They don't want the audience to wait. Like, these people paid money to see a game.
But they're trying to win money, and they're trying to like do well for themselves, for their region. I think it's kind of silly for a team to be like, no, we can play with this lag, and it also gives them a cop out if they
competitive integrity is jeopardized.
And it gives them a cop out if they happen to lose, and they're just like, well, we had lag, we don't know how it could have been if we didn't have this lag. So I think that's a really unfortunate situation and decision that they put themselves to because of that.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, you have to put yourself into like the shoes of the whole tournament itself and the organizers.
Yeah.
You only have the venue for this day. So what are you doing? Either you try to fix the problem and play it out, because you can't reschedule. Like those teams, they would have never fly out to Poland again, because why would they? They have to play LCS, and I'm sure, like I'm 1% certain that Riot would have not allowed them to do that.
Yeah.
Like why would they? They have their own LCS. They do. I mean, you just have to see that there are not many international tournaments because of how the schedule is from Riot for LCS. So just having this break already is putting everything on hold, and you can't let the team fly out for like another week or something, or like another day, That doesn't make any sense. And if I would have been like the manager of a team, I would have just said, you know what, fuck it. I don't want to do it. It's like so much hassle, and you don't want to do it because it just puts your players under stress. They have to travel. It's annoying. You lose practice time, So I think at one point you just had to make the decision to just say, okay, we have problems that are not in our hand. we just have to play it out right now. And I think that's just what happened there. And yeah, I mean, I was making this funny tweet about, with all this ad break, man, those sponsors must be really happy about what's happening. You know,
wonder
because
how
I guess who sponsored IEM Katowice? theScore esports.
Yeah.
Did you know theScore esports has another cool product for you?
Right?
It was like this ad break was like everyone was like super pissed about it on social media, but yeah.
Yeah, it really sucks.
I mean, even in lower level lands, I'm talking like local League of Legends tournaments. They have backup PCs that they can just like swap in and out, right?
Yeah, but it wasn't a PC issue. That's the thing. I was actually talking to the ESL guys, and Carmack even tweeted that out, that it wasn't really the technology that they have. It wasn't really the servers from Riot, because Riot doesn't provide LAN servers, right?
Yeah, they have to.
And they have TR servers only, so that wasn't the issue. And the hardware wasn't the issue too, because their super certified IEM computers are like 10 I don't know, man. He gave me like all the details, and there was no way in the world that it should have happened or the PC crashes. So I think it was just like a software bug with some of the software that players had, or I don't know. I mean, that's what I found out, that it was like a software thing, and that's caused like some delay, or that's just I didn't go into details because that's what
So I'm going to throw this question to you guys to just wrap this up. What does this mean for the future of League of Legends at IEM? Do you think all these issues will change how, maybe teams approach coming to these tournaments? Will people, like as an audience, will they kind of question whether they should go to these tournaments? What do you think?
I mean, for me, it just the way Katowice works is all the teams that qualify beforehand, like 6, 7, 8 months in advance, they're invited again to this tournament, right? It's like a circuit that is leading up to this like championship. So the problem is, during that time, there's roster changes happening, and teams that can be really good and win a tournament, in 6 months they might be a completely different team and will just suck,
Rocks Tigers.
Influence that. Rocks Tigers is the best example, man.
Yeah.
Just imagine if we could have seen the proper Rocks Tigers, that would have been the sick tournament then. If we could have also get like EDG in here, that would have been like a really good tournament, right? But in the end, it just, you don't know what's happening, and the way to fix this, there is no, maybe like make it an invitational, where you just say, hey, we have this tournament coming up, and we're just gonna see how it works out, and we're gonna invite like the 2 best teams out of each region or something. But you have to find like a way where you can gather interest from like peak performance teams, right? And I don't have like a crystal ball where I can say that this team is gonna be really good in 8 months, and neither does the ESL, So I think you just need to go by this, where you start like doing like an invitation only kind of thing, where that would be my suggestion. But I'm sure there's like more facts into it, and you couldn't invite like misfits for EDG, because then you would have made it like EU LCS, and
half
no one would
the
have
European teams.
You need to have like, it's like a championship, it needs to be international, so you need to find some solution to get one more international team that is not from Europe. We already have too many European teams. So it's definitely like tough for them, and they really have to see how they figure things out internally, and how they're gonna structure like these tournaments. Because IEM, for me, IEM, I've been in this industry for like 12 years now, and IEM was always like a super prestigious event, that is like, dude, if I would have been a player or like a team, I would have wanted to go there like no matter what. I really want to play for like this tournament. But it's slowly turning into something that is not even worth attending for any team. And I'm not sure what it is. It's like prize pool, because even it's like $125,000. Let's be honest, like the team from North America that has like a good streamer on their team, he's gonna make that stream alone. Like he's gonna make that money that he's gonna win for the tournament in streaming for like a week. It's too much effort. Like why would he do that? And it's. If I would have the solution, I would probably run these things. So Carmack has to do. He's a great guy. He can probably find like a solution to all of this, and he's very aware of the fact that this tournament is it turned out really bad, and he even wrote on Twitter. That's why I can say this, where he's like working on things, and he has a good idea of how to move forward with the EM circuit and all these things that like public information. But that's just my take on it, I think.
So I think we should expect some changes for IEM next year.
I just think it sets a dangerous precedent for NA teams in particular, that they want to avoid this tournament entirely, or that they are choosing to avoid international competition. I talked about this a little last week, but I also think that moving forward, maybe Katowice isn't necessarily the best place to finish off your circuit, you know? Maybe some place that's easier, more centralized for Western teams to attend. Because as it is, it seems like Eastern teams do want to go for the most part, or when they do end up going.
I mean, I just have to interrupt you. I think there was like the same argument made about the MLG major for like Las Vegas. Was it MLG? No, it was
MLG Las
Piglet,
Vegas.
right? Yeah. It's like someone made the argument that Las Vegas is not a good destination to hold a tournament, which is completely not true. I think I mean, esports is a global tournament and the venue was full, you know. So what else do you want from like a team perspective? Like the venue was full, but you have to fly somewhere, you know?
Yeah.
And you always have the issue, okay, the Korean teams have to fly 9 hours, North American teams have to fly 9 hours.
Yeah.
And if you have it in North America, then, well, the European teams might not attend.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
There's no one spot that's great for
There's
everyone.
no one spot. It's like, there's not one spot, so...
Maybe balancing the IEM stops in different places to be more like front-loaded in their prize pools and make those more prestigious as a result.
Maybe you should send these ideas to Carmack.
If he's listening, you know?
These are all great ideas. That's really interesting. I think we got to move on. We're running a bit shorter on time. Keeping on the topic of, I guess, Europe, we got to touch on last week in the EULCS, Unicorns of Love's manager, Romain, said a very interesting statement that kind of blew up on like Reddit and social media.
All the circles.
All the circles for sure. I think on broadcast it sounded like a simple statement enough, you know.
Yeah.
On his he was on the desk doing an interview and he said he didn't think that Europe would win. I think he meant Worlds with Korean imports. He was kind of championing the idea of like we need homegrown talent, you know, we're gonna win with European players, not Koreans.
Sure.
And then that exploded.
Yeah.
And then I think he went on to further explain his thoughts.
Yeah, so he had an EULCS interview that was cut short, I assume due to timing concerns, that eventually made its way to Reddit. So he fleshed out his thoughts completely in a Reddit post to explain things, and everyone jumped on it. There were think pieces galore, think piece videos galore about this idea and this concept. I know, Marcel, you tweeted about it quite
Very
a bit.
passionately.
Yeah, very much so. And it is a very kind of topic to be passionate about, because you're essentially talking about the future of
I guess
League
Europe.
of Legends and European League of Legends in particular in this case, as to like how we look for talent and whether we are looking for talent in the best possible way, and like uncovering these gems and finding opportunities to present the best possible competition to viewers, right? So
let's hit on his main points. I think the very first one is just the statement, we're not going to win Worlds with Korean players, we're going to win Worlds with homegrown talent. What do you guys think about that statement?
That's bullshit.
Yeah.
Why?
The reason why is, so first of all, the best looking into like the best team that we had since Worlds 2 or Season 2 was going into Worlds from the West was Fnatic with 2 green
I
players.
was gonna say that too.
Yeah.
So how come a team that is going unbeaten in the normal season, that with a bit of luck could have gone all the way to the final and beat a Korean team, how come that was the best performing team that we had so far in the West? Like, you have to ask yourself. Second of all, if your goal as an organization is that you want to grow homegrown talent, why did you hire 2 Koreans, or you had Koreans in your roster anyway?
Yeah.
Like a season ago. That doesn't make any sense to make that statement right now if you're guilty of doing the same thing, you know?
Calling him hypocrite, huh?
I mean, I don't want to call out people, but
Yeah.
that's a bit hypocrite.
It is,
So-
a huge question. Why?
So here's the thing also that Koreans, I mean, the way I see it, Misfits, the coach, coming back to them, what he tweeted about it was actually that it's really good that I just have to gather my thoughts right now because I want to make it as clear as possible, because you always try to get the best available player, right? And if that best available player to your organization, to your team, that complements everything very well, is a Korean player, you go with a Korean player. So the problem here, of course, is that most of these managers or coaches, they just go to the Korean ladder and go down from 1. Oh, this guy's playing for SKT. Second, oh, this guy is actually really good, but he's playing for KT. Oh, there's like an unknown player that is not good or is not in the team right now. Maybe you should contact him. Like that's not scouting. You don't.
They
That's not
don't
scouting.
even they don't even do that though. They don't even look at the ladder. It's at some points they just like ask around. They talk to like people, and people recommend their friends, or people recommend people they know.
So as long as they're Korean, people think they're good.
Well, for example, like GBM, very good player.
Right.
But in the off season, he was like stuck in Diamond 4 with like hundreds of games, and he was still recommended to teams. So just things like that.
Yeah, so there's this one Korean guy named Joylak. He's like an industry person, and he has like really good connection to all these people, and he's active in the scene. And he's like the go-to person for like all these players, for all these managers, right? So basically, it's like manager asked, so we need someone. Let's get a Korean. Yeah, let's contact Joylak. He has like some Koreans left.
Wow.
And then you talk to him. It's like, all right, cool. This guy's really good. This guy's good. I mean, to be fair, he probably helped Fnatic 2 with Huni and Rainover, but he's a good person. You know, he helps these teams. He basically gives them advice on who's good and everything, right? And yeah, but that's for me. You can't like keep telling yourself that you did a good job at scouting as an organization when in reality you didn't do anything. You just got a recommendation, you know.
Yeah.
So what Misfits did was they went to Korea. They actually went there for like 3 months, and they went to like 30 people in tryouts for like jungle.
Yep.
And then in the end, what they did, they decided to take someone like Kakao. Kakao wasn't really well regarded as a good jungler at that time, but they made their own scouting. You know, they practiced with him. They figured out he's the best fit. And I have to say that I wasn't really fully behind the decision of taking Kakao at that time, but he has proven me wrong, and I think it's just good on them that they did their proper scouting. And I think that's how you do scouting, right? You probably have to go to Korea to try out these people. You can't just, I mean, look at Vitality. Like, what the fuck? They ended up like two Koreans, right? That are not longer playing for them anymore. And then they did some roster changes where Nukeduck is moving to support. You have GBM in the mid lane. 1 week later, Nukeduck is back in the mid lane, and
AOD.
like, what the fuck did your people in the organization do to scout these people? You know, like, what was the effort? You have to just ask yourself, like, what's the effort that they put in, right? And I mean, it might sound really harsh, but that's just the cold reality that these people, that's not scouting what they're doing, you know?
Another aspect is definitely budgetary, right? Like, a lot of these orgs may not have the budget to do extensive scouting or the opportunity to do that. Again, I'm not privy to like financial situations of those organizations, but that's a possibility.
To why they might do it that way.
And also, just simply put, the off season is incredibly short, all things considered, and therefore it's really hard to have those extensive tryouts in the same vein that Misfits did, with such consistency and the ability to say, okay, these people fit, these people do not fit, because you know, you can't go do a Korean boot camp every year, or boot camp in a place where you're going to try out people every year. It feels like a very one and done type system. So I would like to see the scouting improve in League, but that also comes with increased like expenditure in scouting and making sure that people are making the right decisions and that they're filtered through multiple people and multiple processes as well. I also find that people just like there's not really interviews as much as tryouts. Like, people aren't really interviewed for their character, I find.
Personality,
exactly.
skills outside of the game.
Yeah, and I find that's also a kind of troubling aspect to these things, because you can improve. It's easier to improve your skill in League of Legends than it would be to improve someone's personality.
Yeah.
And we'll kind of talk about that later.
Actually,
too.
just off that note, one of the other points that Romain made, I think, in his Reddit post was that Korean players aren't marketable to, I guess, a European audience or sponsor. And Marcel's laughing. Well, and I know you tweeted about this too.
It is blowing my mind that you would say that a Korean is not marketable when you take a look at Fnatic, at
again,
Huni. The only thing he would lift his finger and people were making gifs of it on Twitter, you know? It's like, this guy had like such a good personality and was so suited for it that it doesn't make any sense. Like, it just tells me more about your organization or your stand, like your ability to market those players, if you blame a specific type of like, you know, like from a country.
Yep.
Like, if you do a really good like job at marketing, you can market everyone. You know, there have been several careers built through marketing, and if you're good at that stuff, I mean, now they have like a team like Lagardère They market like all the Bundesliga teams.
Yep.
So maybe they can help with that, but just don't go out in the state and make such a statement that Koreans are not marketable. It's just simply wrong. You just didn't know how to market them.
Hold on. I'm going to play devil's advocate just because I can see that there's a pattern here. We keep going back to Fnatic during that season as the example as to how Koreans work, okay?
Sure.
So yes, they worked, like they made it to semifinals of Worlds with 2 Koreans. Yes, Huni is super marketable, but other than them, are there other examples? Because maybe Fnatic's just the outlier. Maybe it just worked for them. Is there any other examples you guys can come up with?
I mean, several Koreans are like super, like they are outgoing, and they're super fun. I mean, I was with one on the team, like Seraph, right? Seraph was like super popular when he streamed on Twitch, and no one knew who the fuck he was, It was on CLG, so he had like really good numbers on streaming. And then you have already like established Koreans that are very well known, but I think with like the right personality, I mean, it obviously helps that you're winning games and the bandwagon fans are always like jumping on you, on your train, But I think in general, it's on the organization to market those players. But the problem is with that stuff, those people that are like 17 years old, they don't understand that they have to brand themselves and have to actually put in their effort, and they don't want to get like they don't want to be marketable,
Yeah.
It's like a two-way street where players are not really willing to put in the extra work of being a star. But I made that statement that esports is like part of the entertainment industry. You either do what is necessary of you and you do those extra interviews, you take your extra time to build your brand, and then in return you get compensated very well with money.
Later on, especially.
Yeah, that's just how it works, you know. It's like demand, supply and demand. If people want to see you, they want to see your product, then they will pay for it, and in return the organization makes more money. And how do you achieve that? You just go out there, you do like the extra interviews, you stream, you promote your players, you tell a story, and especially for like Unicorns of Love, who made that statement, I think it's more iconic that I know more about the personality of the manager than any of the players. And I've known those players for like 3 years, like Vizichachi and Hidisang. Those are franchise players, Those are the kind of players that you put in your team, and once it gets bigger, those are like the people that you rely on and that people should look up to and that you build rosters around. And you also have a star player with Exily. So the tools are there. You have those 3 people more than some other teams. Like, why don't you just build something around these, I don't understand this. Like, I don't want to say it's easy, but...
Yeah. Even the, like...
It's not my job to do marketing, but I can tell you that someone who's good at marketing and knows his shit, he could market those players, I think.
Yeah, even the like eccentricity of Xerxes and like his like
Xerxes.
Totally being like a young up and comer. Just to your question, I would say EDG did a pretty good job with Deft. Like the way he was marketed in China made him a very, very popular player.
Def just came with all the fangirls from Korea. I don't know if that counts.
That's true.
Like he wasn't like a no-namer coming into EDG.
Sure, but it's still an example of having that international success coupled with marketing opportunity, right?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, it's few and far between, but that doesn't make it wrong,
Yeah.
right? That doesn't make it incorrect. We've had some success stories. Obviously, there's some failures, but I think there's some postscripts to those failures or some context to those failures as to why exactly they failed, whether it be scouting issues or team relationship issues or performance issues, like players ending up being washed up or whatever. I just think that it's really unfortunate that entire like nationality can be generalized to be such a negative impact in this way, when there have been more examples of success when people do it right rather than people just jumping the gun because it's popular to get a Korean import.
I think what the manager was saying, Romain was saying with his statement was he came from a positive, like he wanted to send a positive message. Like he came from a good place, not a negative place. And I think the main statement he was saying is that EU just needs homegrown talent. Like there's a shortage.
But they have that too. Of
homegrown. And he's trying to motivate people to grow that talent and, want to become a player, and so they can have...
Here's the thing. You look at the team that me and Marcel are gushing over, and they have the best of both worlds, right? Misfits has that Korean presence, and they have Hansama and Alfari, two like really young, great talents who look actually amazing and who were brought up in an environment that was, friendly and well coached and, prepared. So I don't know. I just feel like this was poorly timed for him because you have this great example of a really great team that has the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm. So obviously, go on, Marcel.
No, I agree.
Yeah, I was saying there's obviously a way for both worlds to combine. That's basically. We have seen success stories of both Koreans working with Europeans to form really strong teams. That's the bottom line there.
Totally.
Okay. Now I think moving on to our last topic, we head over to the NALCS to talk about the breaking news that was just announced. Team Liquid has moved Piglet to mid lane.
So let me just
guys.
Let me just say this before we start. I wanted to talk about this, and Lisa wanted to cut this. And then the news came out.
Okay, to be fair, just so you guys know, the podcast is supposed to be 30 minutes. We're already hitting an hour.
Sure.
I was saving this topic for next week, but because of the breaking news, it's kind of important just to talk about it now.
Sure.
So I'm sorry, Gabe, that I said no before.
It's okay.
But here, now this is your chance. So Piglet becoming Team Liquid's a mid laner. What do you guys think?
Oof.
Good idea, bad idea? Marcel, any thoughts on that one?
I mean...
Your opinion, Aiden.
My first reaction is
stunned
terrible.
silence.
Yeah.
Fucking terrible.
Yeah.
I was thinking of a scenario where, in what world would it be good that a player who won worlds in one role would suddenly switch to mid lane for a team? What happens?
Why? Yeah.
So, I mean, Team Liquid is a pretty different story that is always, they always have this amazing talent, and all the talent that leaves Team Liquid becomes super good after they leave Team Liquid. You have extreme I've seen a list of someone put a list together on Reddit, I think, and I think on that list are 15 people who went from Liquid to another team and went super successful. So I think it's just a bandage fix to something really horrible. And I don't see Piglet being mid lane for longer than 2 weeks. It's just a very desperate attempt of escaping relegation at this point. You just have to work with what's left, because right now, you operate at the import limit already, and who do you take? You had two native mid laners from North America in Link and Golden Glue, who couldn't really perform up to your standards.
Mm-hmm.
To feel comfortable as an organization, you have to realize that the organization didn't feel comfortable having two talents go up against the rest of the league, so that's why they had an established player from another role switch to mid lane. So what does it tell about the organization? I think it just... they always have these roster overhauls that get a completely new team, and then it's kind of like CLG, they start up off really strong, this finally the team, and then they just fail in the end. And this time around, they just didn't get that good start, and they're just breaking apart, and I just feel that... I don't know, maybe it's a management... I don't know, man. I think Steve is a really... I really like the Team Liquid guys, and they have a really good stuff, usually. And the people are amazing there, right? I think just... It can't be luck or bad luck, There needs to be something in the organization that forbids that. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no explanation what is happening over there, that these people... that this decision has to be made, that you put one of your supposed to be star players in a different role. It doesn't make any sense.
On that note, I'm going to put forth the idea that, right now, AD carry role is kind of in that spot where they feel like they don't have an impact. Okay?
It doesn't matter.
Look at Arrow.
Yeah.
Look at Arrow.
Of course,
Arrow.
I get it, because the team, it's not just one role, right? It's obviously the team working around it. But if this team can't do that with the bottom lane, maybe Piglet in himself feels the need to carry. He was always known as a carry player.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So maybe he feels like he can't do that in bot, so he's moving to mid so that he can be more proactive.
But my issue is, why does he... Why is it that no matter how nice Team Liquid management is, that Piglet is the one calling the shots and making that decision?
Because they paid a lot of money for him,
but
Gabe.
That just ruins the
I'm
dynamic between staff and player, right? You are a player, you're supposed to be playing your role. If Piglet feels that he is not capable of playing his role, don't cede to his demands to put him in another role willy-nilly, right? I can't say with confidence that Piglet will be a good mid laner, but I can say with confidence that Piglet is at least a decent AD carry. And I think that's the trade-off that they're making.
Wait, who's the replacement of Team Liquid?
We're gonna bring it up.
Yeah, so their replacement in AD carry is Youngbin, who used to play mid lane in Team Liquid Academy, which makes the decision.
Yes.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Playing mid lane then.
And he actually still plays mid lane. He plays mid lane for UC Irvine in the collegiate scene. So they've put a mid laner in the AD carry position to accommodate their star AD carry moving to the mid lane position.
Man, what the fuck?
All
right.
You know what? That honestly is my reaction
Everyone's
too.
reaction.
It just is so ridiculous. And
I
it's
feel so bad for Rainover, Rainover is such... I feel really terrible for this guy because he's such a good jungler, I played against him. He's so, he's very nice, and he's like the player that facilitates the player around him. Just having him on the team makes all your teammates better, I feel so bad he's like caught in this team where this shit is going on and he can't really perform. I mean, he isn't really performing the best, but...
You guys, this is a test for him. Rainover has already proven himself as a good jungler. They're giving him this case
hard
here
mode.
and seeing if he can
No.
carry. Okay.
They're giving him the biggest paycheck.
yeah.
Well, that too.
So.
But I just wanted to also remark on the video that they posted to announce their changes. I found also really disappointing because they decided to throw and name drop their mid laner at the time, mid laner, Golden Glue, by suggesting that he was the root of their underperformance when, among other minor things, there's a quote about it on our website when we cover the story. But essentially, I just find it really troubling that the Team Liquid staff puts all the blame or most of the blame on that one player and probably ruins the morale of the team and that player's spot on the team as a result too, right? What is the status of Golden Glue after Steve and Michael, the CEO and LoL general manager, throw him under the bus like that, essentially say that they have no confidence in his play regardless of whether he improves in scrims or practice time or what have you, right? I think that's really troubling to me, especially from an organization that apparently has so much love for all the young talent that they've cultivated over the years. I just find that fascinating, to say the least, and incredibly troubling to see if this is a one-off or a trend in the Team Liquid organization. So
yeah, we can only speculate from the outside. We want to say we don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
100%.
But at least next week is going to be interesting.
Well, here's the thing. Next week I face you in fantasy, and Piglet is my AD carry.
Sweet. How does that work? So do you get mid lane points?
No, I gotta switch them out.
Hey, you're right. Rito gods are supporting my fantasy team.
And we're fighting each other for first second.
By the way, this was all my doing.
Yeah,
this is what it was.
You phoned in, Steve.
This was on me. All right. So I think we got to wrap it up now. So next week is definitely going to be interesting with, let's see, the matches that are happening next week. We have SKT versus KT Rolster. Twice. They're playing 2 matches. We have CLG versus TSM.
Yep.
Obviously the other age-old NALCS rivalry.
And we're gonna see Hotshot have a henna tattoo.
Hotshot is gonna be having a tattoo on his face because of the last time they played against each other. They lost, and then we're gonna see the new Team Liquid roster play. And hopefully that isn't a, excuse my language, shit show. And so it's going to be a very interesting podcast next week. You guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Definitely tweet at us or send us any suggestions on, any topics you want to hear us talk about or anything we can fix. Anyways, Marcel, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really fun.
Cheers, Marcel.
And
Cheers.
You guys, we'll see you guys next time. It's been great.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.